Well, hello everybody and welcome to another video tutorial. My name is Peter Draglic, and in this video tutorial I would like to show you how we could create this kind of illustration of a stylized earth. So maybe useful for, let's say, a poster or for any other purpose that you might think of needing a stylized graphic of the earth, of our planet, okay, of earth. So let's go ahead and get started. Let's close this window really quick. Right, and let's now go ahead and switch over to the side view and press 5 on numpad so we can switch over to the orthographic view. And let's now go ahead and, having switched, being here at the side view, let's press Shift A and add a mesh sphere, UV sphere. Okay. All right. Let's leave the default settings as they are. All right, for the moment, and this is going to be our Earth. All right. And let's go ahead now and bring split this window here and bring a UV image editor window here. Right, and what I want to do is to add some displacement to this sphere here. Let's go ahead and smooth the sphere. All right, and the way for doing so is by going up here to the modifiers panel and add a displace modifier. If you want to add some real geometry to your object, not a bump map but a real geometry, all right, real bumps and peaks and valleys according to a texture, then this is the way to go, the displace modifier. But first you have to have added some more geometry by adding, let's say, a subdivision surface modifier to your sphere. So now I'm going to go ahead and I'm adding the displace modifier, and the displace modifier needs a texture, as you can see here. So I have first to import a texture, and the texture is going to I'm going to be importing the texture by going here to the texture tab, and as you can see there is a texture for icon for the background textures and one for the brush textures, or text draw as this is called by default. So add a new texture, and we're going to be adding a cylindrical map, a texture map of or spherical projection of Earth, of the Earth's surface. All right, and what we call Mercator projection, sort of. All right, so we need to add an image or movie. Well, so now we need to open the image or movie, and of course I need to head over to my directory here and find, I have a map. So I have a map of Earth, and I have downloaded this from here, from Wikimedia Commons. So this is free for use under under the for any purpose. All right, this is the map. I have downloaded the 1000 by 500 pixels size, but this kind of map is not useful at all, because if I now go ahead and open this map, I don't need this for displacement. All I need is a black and white or shades of gray kind of map. So that's why I'm closing. I go ahead and close this map here, this texture, actually this map here. All right, and I'm going to be switching over to my Photoshop or GIMP application, and I'm going to manipulate and turn this into a black and white Earth spherical projection map. So let's go ahead in Photoshop and open this image here. So I'm opening this map here, and all I want to do is to go ahead, press Ctrl J and add a new layer, right, and perhaps a new blank layer here. And having selected my magic wand tool from up here, from the toolbox, magic wand, let's click inside the background image, and as you can see we have made the selection. I can continue clicking, so I can select the sea here, the ocean, alright, and perhaps I could go up here, select color range, and I can play a little bit with in making a better selection by going up here to the eyedropper tools and select the plus eyedropper with a little plus icon, and I can start adding some colors here to the selection, and I can reduce the fuzziness. If you reduce the fuzziness, as you can see, the selection becomes even more clear, right, and precise. So I can add some ocean colors here, perhaps something like that here and there. Alright, so I have made this kind of selection. Okay, I'm clicking OK, and now I want to fill this area here. I want to fill this with black, right? The sea, I want to fill this with black. So I go ahead and I'm renaming this layer as sea or ocean, and I want to fill this with this selection with black. So Shift F5, right, in this layer, Shift F5, and I, from the pop-up menu window here, select fill it with black. Alright, so now I have made something like that. Now I'm pressing Ctrl Shift I, and I'm selecting exactly the inverse, and I'm making a new blank layer out from this, and this layer I'm going to be calling this land. Alright, I want to fill this layer with white, so Shift F5 is the shortcut, and click white. Alright, so now I have made this black and white map. Just press Ctrl D to deselect everything, and I can now go ahead and save my file as a PNG image with the name texture, right? Earth map texture. Okay, save this, and we're ready to go to the switch over to Blender. So now I want to use this image instead as a texture for the displacement. So let's go ahead and open the image, Earth directory, this one, open image, and let's go now to the modifier, and I'm going to be selecting the texture. Alright, let's go ahead and name this texture as Earth map, whatever. And as you can see, we have already a certain displacement here taking place. So I need to go ahead and reduce the strength a little bit. So I have something like that. Alright, so I have a nice representation of the Earth's surface and a displacement here. Of course, I can go even further, and I'm going to be keeping the view subdivision to something as low as 2, but when it comes to rendering, I want to pump up a little bit this to something like 4, for example. Okay, so I have a much better, as you can see, much more detailed, displacement, right, taking place. All right, so let's go ahead first, and yeah. Of course, now the map is being mapped onto the sphere using the objects generated coordinates. I don't want this, of course. So the first thing I want to do is to switch over to the front view and press tab to enter edit mode and select Unwrap, and unwrap, unwrap using the sphere projection. So here it is, the sphere projection, and I'm going to use it as an image. As you can see here in the UV image editor, I'm going to be using as an image the Earth map texture image. So now if I go ahead down here and switch over to the texture view, alright, and perhaps even better, I could go to solid and press N, and from the display tab I want to enable the texture solid view. So press N to close this sidebar really quick. So now, as you can see, I have a very good mapping of the map onto the surface of Earth. Right, and now let's go ahead and perhaps play a little bit with the, grab them a little bit along the x-axis, perhaps. All right, and I think it's okay. Let's have a look. Yeah, it's quite nice, nicely mapped onto the surface. So I have something like that. So I want the displacement. Go to the displace modifier, and you want to change this texture coordinates from local, as it is by default, to UV. So now you have a really good you know, displacement here taking place. All right, as you can see. All right. Now, what else? Well, let's say I wanted to make a second sphere around the Earth that has this kind of rays effect that I'm going to be using into the compositor. Let's go ahead first and save the file as Earth, and I'm going to be adding a second sphere which is going to be the same, exactly the same sphere, but a duplicate of a copy of the same sphere. So let's go ahead, I'm selecting the Earth sphere, shift deduplicate it, and now I'm going to the second sphere, and I'm going to be naming it, calling it as, from up here, the outliner, as you can see. I'm going to be calling this as a composition, meaning comb Earth. This is going to be the compositional element for the Earth, and the only change I want to make here is to lower a little bit down the render Cuttle-Clark, you know, subdivisions, and also I want to pump up, to scrap the slider of the strength here in the modifier and make this something like that. All right. Okay, so now I have this kind of effect. Of course, this is going to be used especially mainly in the compositing process. All right, so let's now first of all set my camera, and now let's go ahead and select my camera from up here. Select camera, all right, and press Alt G and Alt R so I can reset the position of my camera. And now let's go ahead and select having selected the camera, shift select the Earth, shift select the Earth object and press Ctrl T and track to constraint. So now, having selected my camera, I can of course go ahead and increase the size of the camera from down here. Let's make this something really, alright, so I can see that better. So I can set my camera, alright, and even better, I could go ahead, let's go ahead and close the UV image editor window, bring up the this side panel and select from the display, select link, from the display select link camera to view, excuse me, from the view tab here, lock camera to view. So now I can start navigating around my scene, and at the same time to have my camera changing angle. Alright, so somewhere here perhaps, alright, perhaps I would like to, well, something like that, I guess should be nice. Alright, alright, so I have a good general view of Earth. Alright, so now I'm unlocking this camera to view icon, and let's now go ahead and switch over first to the cycles render engine. Okay, and now all I want to do is to start assigning some materials to the both the Earth sphere. Let's go ahead and say this Earth and name this as Earth, right? And the convert. All right. So I am selecting the Earth object first from up here, the outliner. I'm heading over to the materials tab, and I'm adding a new material. And I want this material to be actually a new a mix shader. And the mix shader is going to be a mix between a transparent and a emission material for the land, and a glass material for the ocean. All right, so I'm switching over to the compositing panel. All right, let's go ahead and save first, and go down from the compositing selector. Go down here to the material compositing tab, And I want to go ahead and add a first of all, let's delete this diffuse color, and let's input let's add a shader, a emission shader first. Give it a blue color, bluish color. Right, and also let's go ahead and add a shader, either a translucent or a transparent shader. Both of them work really well. So let's say transparent shader, and I want to mix both of them together with a mix shader. So I'm adding a mix shader here, and I'm connecting those two shaders here, and the output to the surface of the material output here shader. Okay, so now I want to also add a factor of blending of those two, and the node that is going to be controlling the blending or the mixing of those two shader is going to be a layer weight node. So from the layer weight node, I am selecting the facing option, the output, and I'm feeding this into the mix, into the factor input of the mix shader. So now this is going to be controlling the mixing of those two shaders. All right. So let's go ahead and switch over to the rendered view. As you can see now, we have something like that, which is really interesting. Of course, for the moment, there's a second sphere around the Earth sphere, so I'm selecting the second sphere with no material yet, and I'm splitting the area here, split the area somewhere here in order to bring the outliner panel, here the outliner panel, just a moment, alright, the outliner panel, select the convert and click this little eye icon so it doesn't render in the rendered view. Alright, so let's switch over to the solid. So I have only this earth here. So let's switch over to material, and you can see it has it still has a emission material, of course, right? And yeah, this is the one. Alright, so now for the rendered view now, from the rendered view. All right, so now we have rendered just the main Earth sphere. So I want to add also a glass material somewhere here for the ocean, but the factor of blending this group of shaders with the glass shader is going to be the map of Earth texture that I have just imported. So let's go ahead and add a new shader. The shader is going to be a glass shader, and I'm going to be adding yet another mix shader, and I'm going to be connecting those two here, feeding the group here with the new glass shader, and of course the output fed to the surface output, material output. Now the factor for mixing together those two now, this group plus this one, is going to be a image texture, which I'm going to be I imported, and this is going to be the Earth map texture. So the color information of this texture is going to be the factor of mixing the glass material and the group of shaders. So we now have something like that, very, very interesting actually. All right, so we have a glass material here. All right, and you can always go ahead and add a converter math node. Connect this here after the image texture controller, whatever, and you can play now with the value, and you can switch the mode to multiply, and you can play with the value, getting different results. For example, 0.5 is going to be something like that. If you set the value to 1, it's going to be even. It multiplies the factor of blending or mixing together those shaders here. Okay, so this is the shader tree for the for our material here, for the Earth material. Let's maximize the window so you can have a better look at how it looks like. As you can see, it's pretty interesting. And this is the material for the main Earth sphere. So let's go ahead now and switch over to the Compositing sphere, and let's bring this into view. Currently, this doesn't have a material yet, so I'm selecting it, and I'm going to the Material tab, adding a new material. And for this material, I want this material to be a mix material, mix shader of a translucent or either translucent or transparent, along with a emission material. So let's go ahead and delete this shader here, add an emission shader, and I want to mix both of them using a mix shader here. So fit those here, this here, and for the factor of mixing, I'm going to be selecting the input layer weight this time, but this time instead of facing, I'm going to be selecting the Fresnel. Alright, so let's switch over to the rendered view so we have a better view, better look at how it looks like. Of course, I want to change the emission material to something like blue here and something like that, of course. And from the Fresnel factor, I want to bring this really down, to lower this down quite a bit. Don't worry for the moment, it looks weird, but in the compositing, in the compositing panel, in the compositing process, we're going to be fixing it. I want something like that, okay? Alright, let's take a look through my camera here, and of course now it looks weird for the moment, but we're going to be fixing this issue in just a while. So let's go ahead and give you some names to the materials. First of all, select the inner sphere and let's name this material, call this material Earth, and let's select the outside sphere and let's name this material Compositing. Alright, so now all I need to do is to set up two different render layers. So I'm switching over from up here, let's say first I'm switching over from up here to the default layout, and I'm going to be selecting the outside the Compositing sphere, and I'm going to be moving it into the second layer here, scene layer. Now I'm going to be pressing 1 on keypad, Shift 2, so I can have both the two layers here in the scene. Alright, and I want, of course, to go ahead here in the render properties panel with the camera icon, this one here. Alright, and I want to make two render layers, to assign two render layers. By default it is just one, so I'm naming this one as Earth. Alright, and let's go ahead and assign to this one the first scene layer. I'm adding a new one, a new render layer, and I'm calling this Compositing. Right? And for this render layer, I want the second scene layer to get rendered. So another very important thing is go up here to the film, alright, film tab, and enable transparent from this, so you don't have the background rendered. Okay, so enable transparent, and of course you can play with play around with the integrator and the samples here for the render and things like that. You want to play with the resolution here. I mean, if you like this resolution, you might want some preview renderings to get rendered using a fraction of the final resolution, of the full resolution, so 50% for example. So if I now press F12 and render, you can see that it takes some time, it takes a while, so but it starts rendering. Alright, I have set the render for previewing purposes, the render samples to just as low as 10, so it doesn't take too long to render, and the resolution to 50%. So in just a while it should be okay and rendered. So now I'm moving I'm switching over to the compositing and layout, and I'm go down here to the from the selector to the composite nodes, scene composite nodes, use nodes, and I'm presented with the render layer plus a composite node. Shift A, I'm adding an output viewer node, so I have an instant feedback of what is going on here. And I'm going to be adding the second layer, render layer as well. So input render layer, and this is going to be the Comberth render layer. So I want to now go ahead and mix those two render layers by using a color Z-combine node. All right. So I'm connecting, I'm fitting this image here and this image here, and the Z values as well. So now I'm feeding this image output to the viewer node, and I'm enabling the backdrop option here. So I have a first, a first preview of what is going on here. All right. So now I am connecting this, of course, to the compositing image. So now I want to leave it as it is. Keep using the Z-combine node, all right, or I could choose a different method I could try a different method for mixing together those two render layers, and the different method is going to be the mix node. So I'm feeding the image. Let's try this out here, and let's connect this here, and let's see how it looks like. And instead of mix, let's make this something add, for example. So now it looks real nice, I guess. I mean, if you lower down a little bit the alright, so you can play around with the different mixing settings here. Alright, and now let's go ahead and work a little bit with the Comberth layer itself. So the Comberth layer itself, I'm going to be adding a filter, glare filter. Alright, and I'm going to be pulling a connection here, and I'm going to be connecting both the original image plus the glare effect branch here using a color mix node. Right, so let's connect those two together. Alright, let's mix them together. Change the node, the blending mode to add. Connect this into the viewer, and let's enable the backdrop option so we can have a better idea of what is going on here. Alright, so now I can play a little bit with the threshold, and first of all select the type of glare and change it to fog glow, perhaps, I am not sure, and play a little bit with the threshold. Alright, something like that, so we have this glow around our object. Okay, you can always play with the amount of add here. You can make it even more than one, so you have this very interesting, in my opinion, result. And you can always go ahead and Shift A, add a new output viewer for this point here. Alright, and the final image is going to be this one. Of course, the final image now, it is too bright. I mean, I don't want this to be like this. Perhaps I want to lower this down somewhat and play a little bit with the, perhaps changing this into another mode, for example. You can try, you go ahead and try different nodes and see which one of those nodes works well. Of course, you could try the Z-combined method, for example, by just feeding this up here and see how this works now, and connect this into the viewer. Alright, and I can see this works well as well. Alright, and perhaps I have to lower down the, alright, but in general, I guess this is the way to go. I mean, with the color mix node, yeah, I think it's this much better, in my opinion. Alright, you can play with the threshold, alright, until you have a nice result, and you can even go ahead and add a second blur node, filter blur node, and connect this here and another color mix node here, and fit those two together here and mix them by adding a relative 14 top 14, and mix them as overlay or screen, perhaps, or screen. Okay. All right. So you have even this, and of course you can lower down now the amount of, so something like that, perhaps, and you can play with the size here of the blur node until you get something satisfactory. Alright, now let's go back to the now let's go here and and perhaps lower down this and add a color RGB curves here and pump up the contrast. So I have something like that. And perhaps you might want to go here when you are here. I mean, you can see we don't have a good transparency as far as the convert outside sphere is concerned. So in order to fix this, just go to the material here, down here to the material compositing tab, and just change the facing, the blend, amount of the facing of the Fresnel, excuse me, to as low as, I don't know, something like really low. I mean, I'm not sure, something like perhaps 0.0014, perhaps, something like that. All right, as low as that. And now, if you want to render just this layer here, not re-render all the scene, you don't need to. Just click on this little camera icon here, so it's going to render just the this certain layer here, not everything in the scene. Right? So now, as you can see, we have a better, more transparent, due to the fact we have changed the blend amount of the Fresnel parameter. We have a much more transparent outside of the sphere. So this is kind of interesting, right? So now let's go ahead and play a little bit with the add amount, perhaps here. So give it some more amount of. All right, so we have something like that. Of course, this is all about, this is all up to you to start playing around and find the result you are really going for. Now what we need to add here is some stars in the background, right? So that's for this purpose I have downloaded another image from Wikimedia Commons, and I have manipulated this in such a way that I have added some stars here and there using the clone stab tool, and I'm going to be adding this. I have cropped this as well at the size of the final render. So the final render is going to be 1920 width by 1080, right? This is the setting here, okay, at 100%. So 920 by 1080, and I have cropped an image in Photoshop or GIMP. You can do this exactly the same if you want, if you wish, exactly at this size. So I'm going to be importing this image, and I'm going to be adding it as a separate here node, and I'm going to just mixing all of them together. All right. So I have, and I'm going to be making the needed adjustments. So I'm going to be importing the image. So I'm pressing Shift A, and I'm adding the image input image, and from click open. All right, and I'm heading over to the Earth directory, and I have prepared this image cropped at 1920 by 1080, and I'm importing this so here, and I'm going to be just placing this as a background stars, you know, space, whatever image. So all I need to do is to go ahead and add a color mix node, alpha over node, and just go ahead and select the output of all these groups of layers here. I mean this from this node here, fit this here, and the image here, and connect this to the viewer node. So I now have this rather interesting, as you can see, background, right? Okay. Of course, now in our case, the render is at the 50% of 50% of the full resolution. That's why the Earth looks so you know, so small here, so tiny in the center, at the center, excuse me, of the frame. While this image has 9020 by 1080 pixels, all right, resolution. I mean, okay, so width by height. But if you render it these layers here at 100%, then you will have a big you know, size, double the size of this Earth at the center, which is what we're going for. So after I go ahead and I'm rendering this image, and I'm back in just a while. I'm stopping, I'm pausing the recording, and I'm back in just a while. And this time I'm going to be rendering at full resolution, 100%. So I'm back in just a few seconds. So as you can see now, we have this big blue Earth here rendered here, and of course you can go ahead and you know, play a little bit with the contrast and things like that. You can go ahead and add, for example, here you know, a color RGB curves. They are very you know, handy when it comes to adding some additional you know, tinting to your you know, to your image. So just select the blue here channel and just move this a little bit, so you can give it a more bluish tint to the background, so it better matches to the foreground, which is the Earth. And you can always go ahead and add a color hue saturation, and you can play also with that and make the saturation lower down a little bit, the saturation a little bit. And of course you can do the same here at the, you know, you can do the same at the final, you know, here composite, and add a RGB curves here as well, and work with the contrast, things like that of the image. Alright, and you can always use GIMP or, you know, any other I mean Photoshop, so you can make additional adjustments to your image. So this is the result up to this point here, and I hope you like it and you find it somewhat interesting. And that was for our tutorial for today. I hope you enjoyed it, you learned something out from this, and if you like this, don't forget to subscribe. See you next time with another hopefully interesting tutorial. Until then, have fun and goodbye.